After being found not guilty in Oscar Hernandez's death, Kay Flock's next possible release date was revealed. It was revealed that Kay Flock was not found guilty of M crimes, but was found guilty of 5 other felonies, including possession and RICO. But because of his astute legal work, Flock's attorney said he is not deterred by the 5 guilty indictments. The charge that was most concerning was Hernandez's passing. Given that he won the charge, Flock's release date will be impacted. Thus, according to reports, the prosecutors delivered a letter offering. That could be interpreted as asking the jury to determine if the defendant's oddities caused him to believe the victim was going to use physical force. This is great for Flock because it suggests that the jury considered his perspective rather than just the standard of a reasonable person because of his upbringing, which increased his susceptibility to feeling dread around Oscar. This is how this self-defense defense on the M charge went, which resulted in Flock's positive call while incarcerated.
Talk to them, Flock. Talk to them, my doc. Soon come home, man. You got these little boys walking around with no jewels, Flock. They need you. They need you, Flock.
The incident resulted in Bobby saying "Free Kay Flock" prior to the trial and Lil TJ shouting the same thing.
What's it like for you watching the Kay Flock thing happen? That's crazy. Next big artist coming out of New York.
I love Flock, so I like that. That's my guy.
Okay.
But I'm wishing him the best right now. You know what I'm saying? And for the alleged charges they pushing on him, you know what I'm saying? I'm wishing his family the best. I'm wishing the whole team the best and everything. You know what I'm saying? And I hope he beat them alleged charges. You know what I'm saying? Because he got a lot of future brightness. He got, and I hope, you know what I'm saying?
That would be a sad story if that's the end of the.
We ain't gonna think like that. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta stay positive.
But because one of his group members betrayed him, he was found guilty of the charges. In 2020, it was discovered that Kay Flock had allegedly used a gun against someone who had used one against a friend of his. Today, his acquaintance testified against him. The snitch is called Brockington, but on the streets, he goes by Dubby. But it's important to distinguish Dubby B, Flock's greatest friend, from Dubby, who was arrested for peddling, because the latter disregarded Kay Flock. Because he effectively judged Flock guilty of the 5 other charges he was facing, his snitching also has an impact on his release date. But you have to read the case file to find out when W will be released, because prosecutors questioned him in court. After you were struck, Doug, who phoned you to the hospital, said that Kay Flock called. He said, "You know we got you, bro." He continues by saying that he was going to exact revenge on the person who had struck him. To persuade him to publicly confess, the prosecution asked him, "Did Flock hit them up in retaliation for you?" Dewey said that someone was grazed during the altercation. In relation to Oscar Hernandez's killing, Duge admits that Flock was carrying a gun and that he was on call with opposition team members who passed by their block. They primarily inquired as to whether Flock had been observed in possession of a firearm, which is one of the offenses for which he was convicted.
Okay, but so I saw some fans who were off at both me and Academics after Kay Flock got locked up just because I guess in our tone when we talked about it, it might have seemed like we were being a little too presumptuous. But is that weird for you? Because I'm sure you see people all the way from rappers to whoever acting like your boy is just done and he's cooked in this situation.
I ain't gonna lie, people. Especially people that don't even be knowing, y'all don't even know what's going on. Bro. Yeah.
Reason. According to court records, Oscar Hernandez died on December 23, 2021, and Kay Flock was charged with his murder. He can be seen walking down the street with his sister, Flock, wearing stylish pants and a blue jacket that camouflages his shyness. Oscar Hernandez jumps out to yell, "What are you looking at?" as he spots Flock walking past a barbershop from inside. Due to their previous street experiences, they start yelling at one another, but Oscar follows Flock when he decides to go. Oscar thinks about leaving Flock alone and walking back to the business, but he escalates the argument instead. Oscar may be seen rummaging through his jacket pockets. As soon as Flock discovered this, he turned back, drew his revolver, and hit Oscar repeatedly before he fell to the ground and fled. He was transported to a local hospital after witnesses contacted 911 in an attempt to save his life. Regrettably, he passed away from his injuries. The only pieces of evidence left at the spot were the Oscar slides he was wearing and shell casings. The case was a mystery for 24 hours. the NYPD did not know who the masked man was, saying that they saw him on the CCTV camera. As a result, they posted this picture of Flock from the film and requested feedback from viewers. However, Flock had already sold this item of clothing online, and when he was seen live wearing the same jacket and mask just hours before the crime, he was immediately reported to the police. Flock took him to the police station with an arrest warrant and one of the best lawyers in town. "I'd accompany Kevin as he self-surrendered," his lawyer said in a statement. "I quickly contacted the NYPD and spoke with investigators in the 30th precinct after learning that he was wanted. We'd have begun to investigate the allegations that have been made against him. We'll talk about bail once we had a chance to review the material and investigate the Diaz noteworthy disclosure." After collecting as much evidence as possible from the crime, his lawyer immediately began the self-defense claim.
When the guy hits the ground and is found, he's got a loaded that was in his pocket that his hand was on at the time. We consider that to be self-defense.
So he did keep him in self-defense.
That's what the allegation is. I don't want to talk too much about the details of the case,
Okay.
but the government claims that he pulled the. But at the same time, the person that was ground had his hand on a illegal loaded.
Okay. So without saying too much, you're arguing obviously self-defense.
That could be one of the arguments, self-defense, and I would say to the public, somebody's walking up to you with a loaded, it's pretty clear is going to use it, with a criminal record a mile long. Do you want to get, or do you not want to?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate to pull it.
However, given that Flock has a long history of being linked with the Third Side Street team, the Fed statement claims that it is all the result of opposing street teams fighting with each other. Flock was heavily involved in the game since his exposure and was often the object of reprisals from his operations. But K-Flock's situation took a major turn for the worse when it was disclosed that a federal grand jury had accused Flock of multiple new racketeering conspiracy counts, or RICO charges. Rap producers responded to the news by saying, "K-Flock just caught a RICO. Really, it's over." According to scholars, the government just revealed an indictment against K-Flock for a RICO crime. The minimum penalty is life in prison if he doesn't come forward or avoid those charges. State charges against him have kept him behind bars. In reaction to the RICO indictment, Flock's lawyers stated, "We've been fighting Kevin's state charges for more than a year, so we're not surprised by the federal charges." Now, since the incident was clearly a self-defense incident, it wasn't a strong charge, but it's wonderful that it's now the basis for a penalty charge. It's clear from the video that Kevin was about to be affected after trying to escape the other person. Kevin utilized something to defend himself and his sister just as the armed team member was about to draw a gun from his pocket. Unfortunately, Flock was found guilty based on much of the evidence. Nevertheless, on day one, the court reporter thought he was doing fine. Everyone assumed the prosecution wasn't ready when they said that the first day of K-Flock's trial was completed. They are making many stuttering noises, not answering the judge's questions, and not offering evidence to back up K-Flock's lawyer's defense. But now, the federal government has targeted several rappers, including K-Flock. Because did you know that Lil Baby was just called out by the feds?
The investigation aspect of this, Lamont Freeman was allowed to be a 13-year-old for 27 minutes before gang violence ultimately took his life. Gang violence was orchestrated by adults in our city. And cowardly acts of an Atlanta-based rapper that decided to go over into a rival gang stronghold and shoot a music video in a place that he knew he should not have been. And in the subsequent days, we saw and ultimately the deaths of 2 children as a result of his cowardly actions, and you know who you are. And I tell you that this team will work relentlessly to hold you and the persons that you are affiliated with responsible for those actions.
Young and Ace were even left off the list by the Jacksonville sheriff. Is a police rap takedown underway?
So Young and Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. I won't speak to the chief's investigation. That's up to TPD. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it. And that's for the betterment of our community.
But reporters also noted that in spite of his lawyers' efforts to convince him that they would prevail, Flock had remained disturbed for a large portion of the trial, to the degree that Flock disseminated this message.
I know what's going on, man. Flock, I know something, man. Like, free me to the guys, man. Hey, yo, like, I'll be back real soon. Shout out to my fans and my supporters, man. I love all y'all, man. For all the youth out there, for violence, man. For me, and do what y'all supposed to do, man. For me, to do life correctly, bro. Like, get money, man. So, man, I'll see you real soon.
In Melly's case, Mui stated that the federal government will do everything it takes to keep these artists, but ultimately, they will always find a way to do it.
When they want you, they want you. I knew they wanted them bad when they waited for that law to get passed. So it'd be 8-4.
Oh, right, yeah.
They waited all the way till that law got passed to take him to trial.
Yeah, he was in jail for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, they could have been took you to trial.
You're right.
They waited till that law got passed and took him to trial a couple months later. When they want you, man. Just gonna see how he didn't get a bond after a mistrial.